Hello, 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 and welcome back to yet another edition of Tell Me Something Good. This is my real estate where I get to have friends and thought leaders and all kinds of people jumping into space to tell us something good. Super pumped to have my friend Gerry Litrento, Senior VP of BankUnited, on today. I think for all of us, banking relationships are the most important relationships. So, Gerry Litrento, you're on the clock. Tell me something good.
Thanks, Steve. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Right now, I think the good that I can tell you is we're all going to remember this time and be better for it. Obviously, it's a crisis like no other in our lifetimes. And we're all just trying to really get our arms around what it all means, not just now, but looking out over the next, 4 weeks and 4 months and after that. From my vantage point, the tell you something good right now is that our company, BankUnited, is helping hundreds and hundreds of businesses through this PPP loan. I think what I have learned, or what we've learned in this whole experience, is it's so critical, excuse me, to continue to communicate with clients on an ongoing basis. This whole process was quickly launched, obviously, given the situation, and I think all the well-intended, you know, uh, all the right intentions, but operationalizing something that huge, that fast, has a lot of challenges for every bank. And you've heard the president talk about the number of banks that have participated, the number of community banks. I think he said yesterday over 4,000
Wow.
on a report that I heard on Fox News. Um, what to me, the good of it is that we, as a country, will save a lot of small businesses. I think they're more impacted by this than anything else in the economy, and so hopefully we will be able to, through this program and other means, rescue a lot of them from this crisis. The other thing that I think, on a more personal note, that I think is a good outcome ultimately from this is everybody gets to take a step back and realize how fortunate they are. A, to live in this country. B, to work for a great company, and C, I think, sort of reflect on the things that we're also digital today, self included. I don't know when the last time I played Monopoly was, but with everybody being home, you pivot and you do things that you haven't done in a while. And I think this can bring families closer and make us all more appreciative, for things that we tend to take for granted
So
when
I, I
things are.
totally, I totally, totally agree with you, and I love your perspective. What I'd like you to comment on is you have a pretty broad sales staff. You cover pretty wide territory. Maybe you can comment on leading from home. Everybody being home or everybody doing what they're doing. How you've always been digitally minded. You and I have done some great work together, and you've always been a thought leader like that, but you never really get it thrust on you the way this has been thrust on you. So I'm curious what your take is on leading from afar.
So you and I haven't talked about this, but we did a couple things this week that were really cool. One of them was we did a digital happy hour, our team, and it got us to thinking, let's broaden this. And so we did a digital lunch. Um, our 70 of our 78 offices out there, a lot are still open because we have some without excuse me, drive-throughs that we closed, but all the ones with with drive-through access we still left open, and our staff is going in on a daily basis. So we just held a broader digital lunch recognizing our assistant branch managers who really run those centers. And it was cool to hear their experiences, just to say thank you. And, basically kind of get in front of them digitally. And I'm thinking about, some other things on how to continually touch people through, the digital experience. I've done a couple of virtual breakfasts like this. I think if there's one thing, I think we know about our country, we'll persevere through anything. And so, a lot of things are happening that are going to impair certain businesses, and they're going to have to reinvent. So that's my perspective.
So I love that always. I mean, what a lot of people may not know is that my flourishing speaking career was started by none other than the person sharing the screen with me. And I will never forget that. You were my first big speaking engagement, and you never forget your first. But one of the things I've always admired about you is, number one, you're ahead of the curves and you read like a madman. You're devouring information. So I know for me, that stands out about you. What are you reading now? What are you devouring? What would you recommend for people that are listening to actually take this, recess, as one of my other friends called it? What would you want people to read now? Look at him. I love it.
I just finished it. I was actually reading another book called The Art of Digital Transformation, which was probably one of the best books I've read on all things digital. It was written by none other than Tom Siebel, who I think knows a heck of a lot about
You
the
think?
whole digital world. Yeah, and so I was trying to go in a different direction, and I saw Malcolm Gladwell came out with a new book, and I think what I gleaned from this is,
That a Malcolm Gladwell book?
yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know he wrote a new book. I did not know that.
Talking to Strangers. Yes.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Fantastic.
So, I won't spoil it for you because I know you want to read it. It talks about how we do we ever really know who we're talking to and who's kind of in front of us. And
Wow.
it uses examples like Bernie Madoff and how many people he was able to persuade.
Wow.
It talks about a lot of great leaders in history that were, basically taken down the wrong path by a stronger minded leader. It's really cool because it gives you perspective on sort of what I would call discernment. I think we all think we have a fair amount of it, but it's a good refresher on sort of not thinking that you might be as discerning or as smart as you think you are. I love the Kansas song. If I thought I was a wise man, it surely means I don't know.
Look at you. Yeah, look at you dropping music too. I love it.
I think Malcolm Gladwell has more observations on all those things. I've read all 5 of his books, and this is sort of yet another stroke of genius along that whole path of just watching people and observing things that most people don't pick up on. So, as you like to say, success leaves clues and all of the Steve-isms. I think this is yet another look at not only nonverbals and what people are trying to say to you to move you, but perhaps you having a greater discernment about what they're not saying in between what they're saying, if you get what I'm,
Oh,
in
totally,
between the
totally.
lines.
You know what's interesting is people ask me what's my favorite book, and it shocks them when I don't even say my own book. And my favorite book is The Tipping Point. It
Yeah.
is by far the most impactful book that I've ever read. And for this simple reason, it was pre social media. And he talked about how the law of few could turn out to be the law of many. And his examples and his thought leadership there was so early, but he nailed it. And he's continued to do that. It's still my favorite, but this one sounds like it's right up my wheelhouse, right in my wheelhouse.
It's definitely, I read it in a few hours. It's definitely worth the time investment. And I was just saying to Mercedes today, I need to find something new to read, but I'm preoccupied with a lot of different projects and things that we're doing, and so I'm kind of trying to stay at my post. This is a new busy. You're not running from one meeting to the next,
Correct.
or trying to get to a lunch or a breakfast, or excuse me, a client visit. You're trying to put out a fire, and you got a few things stacked up behind it, and it's I think it teaches us all a little different skill set. Patience being probably one of the more important things in all of that. To be patient with yourself, be patient with technology, and be patient with people.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really, really good takeaway from it, because the reality is there are natural downturns, none like this, but also nobody knows what the rebound looks like either. I mean,
Yep.
there wasn't like there was no demand and that stopped. There was total demand. It just got shut off. And so in my mind, I'm still in the mindset that when we move towards opening it up, as they say, it should, that people didn't stop eating out because they didn't want to. They just couldn't. So I think adjusting to a new norm. I mean, you and I, the work that we've done together, have always been teaching digital tools, always been teaching virtual coffees. We were talking about Zoom long before Zoom became popular. So, for you, I've always given you credit for leading. I want to share one other story, because I would be remiss if I didn't. When and I'll never forget the call. I was driving, and you call me up and you go, I just read the book Moneyball, and there's so many similarities to our business. Do you think you could write something about our business with Moneyball? And that's what you've always done for me. You've always put stuff in front of me, teed me up, and say, where are the parallels? And I just watched Moneyball again. I watched the movie, and I was like, you couldn't have been more spot on. I mean, that was early on. That was years ago. And so you seem to have that foresight, to say, I got a feeling about that. And that's really, I think, one of your best skill sets.
Thank you. Well, I think looking forward, um, it's going to be critical for people to be more hygiene conscious. We all should have been that anyway. How many times have you traveled or you get sick, right? I mean, it constantly happens. I think people would be a lot more conscious about that. Renting a car, I rented a car a couple weeks ago, and we wiped it down. Should do that anyway.
You're right. Yeah, it's the amount
Go
of
to a
times I
movie.
traveled and been on a plane and
I,
looked at the tray in front of me and went, ugh.
yeah, I love movies. I'm going back to the movies as soon as they open them, but I probably will do a little sanitation before I sit down. Um, I think that you'll just be more socially conscious about, shaking hands. I've always believed that I'm an avid Freddie Couples, golf fan. he uses the fist pump and always has. That I don't know that the handshake will any longer be in vogue. I think that's done. Maybe I'm wrong, but we laugh about it. The social hug and all of that. That I think is another thing people will think twice about. So I think a lot of things like that in business, will take their course. I'm like you. I can't wait to get back to a networking meeting. Any type of business development, lunch related, breakfast related, dinner related thing. I just think we'll all be more socially conscious about those things. And gosh, in business, I think what this has shown everybody is that the supply chain is not quite as robust as we thought. And things can really turn on a dime quickly. In business, we've seen some very strong businesses that are now working through survival plans, which is unimaginable, and they probably will survive, but I don't think that they thought that they had to think that way. I guess the last thing, and I'll go back to you're telling me something good. I think we all get caught up in again, America and our country. We have such prosperity, and we are so blessed just to live here. And we will all take a step back and be a bit more thankful for just that, because a lot of the other things, somebody was asking me, would I go to a football game or an event where you had a lot of people? I don't know, but just the fact that we've got, that's a luxury, right? So I'll certainly watch them on TV. And so I think a lot of things like that will evolve. Awesome. That's just my perspective.
And it's great. It's great to spend time with you. As long as mine and Michelle's seat at GPIC is still there, I'm looking forward to that more than anything.
Absolutely. So do I get a parting thought?
Sure, absolutely. Go for it.
Or quote?
Go for it. Go.
Every day is a gift.
Love it. And we know that. And I'm grateful that you're in my life, and you and your lady are in our lives. We love you guys. We can't wait to see you soon. But thank you for sharing a little piece of who you are with all of my audience. And I'll see you soon, my friend. Stay on the ball.
Back at you, man.
Be good.
Take care. Good being with you. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.